Okay. Well, thank you again, everybody, for coming out. It is time for the Princeton Tigers. It's time to be joined by Fatima Tall and Sky Belker. Before we get to some questions for the student athletes, just a reminder again, if you weren't here earlier, please silence your cell phones. Please provide your name and your media affiliation prior to asking any questions. Also, if you're joining us via Zoom, please use the raised hand function for questions. We're going to address questions in-house before we get to the Zoom calls. Photographs are welcome, but please note flash photography. And lastly, recording press conferences on cell phones or cameras is prohibited as well. So with that said, we can open up the floor to questions for the student athletes.
Hi, Caitlin Urka with ESPN. A lot has been talked about this sophomore class that you guys are a part of, and obviously a crucial part to the success that you guys have had this season. So I'm curious, how much have you seen yourselves grow throughout the season, and what do you think is the biggest thing that you've improved upon or learned over the course of the year?
Yeah, I feel like just becoming more mature and like grown as players has been like our #1 goal. I think we've been getting better at that as the season goes on. I think we're playing a little bit more smarter than we did like when we first starting together. So like that's a big improvement that we worked on together.
Yeah, I think taking care of the ball and making sure that we're playing at our pace in the games too. Early on, we had to build our chemistry, and I mean, we have a lot of chemistry off the court, and so building that on the court took some time, and then now I feel like we finally have that clicking.
Is there anything in particular, you mentioned that chemistry, that you guys have done, any fun things, both, maybe at practice or outside of basketball, that has helped you guys really create and cement that chemistry?
Yeah, we hang around each other a lot. We are in the same class, so like we have that we're always together. Like we're eating meals together a lot. We're like all in the same like eating club, we call them. Like we're always in each other's company. I think that just like translates to on the court because we can have those hard convos when someone's like not giving us 100%, or we can have like those compliments that not everyone else would understand.
Not many people can say they have an NCAA national champion as a coach. So to have that presence in the locker room all the time at practice, what have you gained? What have you, have you asked questions about that experience? Have you, guys gotten into that at all and been able to tap into any of that as you guys start to make your run here in the tournament?
We actually haven't asked her about it a lot, but maybe we will.
Shame on you guys.
Yeah, that's on us. But I think the biggest thing we learned from her is like preparation. I think for every single game we prepare a lot and we're focused, and I think she holds us accountable on how to stay focused for every single game, no matter how big or every game is big, but making sure we're treating every game the same. And so I think being under her and always coming prepared with a lot of intensity and a lot of focus on details is really important, and something that she emphasizes a lot that we definitely bring.
The great thing about NCAA tournaments and March Madness is that it attracts a lot of new viewers and a lot of people that are excited about the tournament and will be watching you guys for the first time this season. So for those viewers who are just tuning in and are late to the party because they should have been watching all season, what is it that you'd like them to take away from the team? Like, what do you want them to know about you guys, both as individuals and as a team, that they can leave saying, yeah, like this defines the Princeton Tigers?
Yeah, I really want them to be able to say that they watched the game and that we played really hard. We were like, after all those 50-50 balls, we were getting those rebounds, we were making the right passes. If they can like say that we gave our all genuinely, I feel that's a win for us.
Yeah, and I think also just be like, wow, that's some like good basketball too, like making great plays for each other, not just going one-on-one, but like being a great team in general. I think that's super important to our team and something that viewers, we want them to see.
Okay, looking across the court now, when you guys start to watch your tape and break down Iowa State, what is it that jumps out to you? What do you think is going to be the most difficult part of their game to defend tomorrow?
I think they have some pretty good post players in there. I think it's definitely a different team than we've played in the Ivy League so far. So being able to adapt to what they have and like perform the same scout and like adapt to how they're playing the game will be like I think, not the hardest thing for us, but I think they're our main goal.
Yeah, making sure we execute and stick with our plan and play with our pace is going to be a huge key for us.
You guys just coming off finishing up your tournament run, they've been sitting out for over a week now. Do you feel like that's an advantage, that you've had your game legs underneath you and will be coming right back into play?
Yeah, we just lost, so I think we're ready to win now.
Yeah, what she said.
Any other questions from those in attendance in person before we go over to Zoom? Okay, with that, we'll turn things over first to Steve Silverman.
Thanks. Can you hear me okay? Great. Well, just to follow up on that last question about your motivation for this game, you guys had certainly a goal coming into the season to win the Ivy League, and you weren't able quite to get over that hump. Then it was to win the Ivy League tournament. That didn't quite happen either. Can you guys just talk a little bit about the motivation that you have to make a run in this tournament as a way to still accomplish some extremely important goals for the season for yourself and for the team?
Yeah, I think part of being in the Ivy League and coming into these tournaments, a lot of people see us as the underdogs. And so we want to prove that we're competing at the highest level and that we play at the highest level. And we obviously didn't get the outcome that we wanted this year in the Ivy League. But I think that even with that said, we're still prepared and still focused on making a run in this tournament.
Yeah, like our coach mentioned how this is like a new start for us. This is like a new season, and we want to keep on playing for our seniors like it has been our goal from day one.
A little bit, because you made a pretty pointed comment a minute ago about how you lost in that Ivy League tournament. Now you're ready to win, and that's different than last year, right? Last year you guys cut down the nets twice, came into the NCAA tournament with that kind of momentum. Is it a different kind of momentum when you're coming off a loss, that you're just sort of hungry to immediately avenge that loss, even if the opponent isn't the same?
I think so. I think both ways. We always find a way to fuel ourselves before a game. So coming off a win, playing with great confidence. But I think even after this loss, we still have confidence in ourselves, and we're now hungry to show that we are a winning team and get some dubs in this run.
And can I just ask you guys, in all candor, were you surprised, when you saw your name come up on Sunday? I mean, I think it's been widely reported that Princeton was the last team in the tournament. I know when we were all at the Ivy League tournament together, we were all really hopeful that this would happen. But 3 Ivy teams making it into the tournament, that's never happened before, and I know you guys were aware of that as well. So in all candor, were you surprised, or were you expecting to get this validation?
Yeah, I think having a 3-bid Ivy, that was the goal on almost everyone's heads. Surprise, I wouldn't say surprise. I think that was excitement. We always get excited when you see your name pop up. So we're ready to play. I think we knew that we're lucky to be here, but we also earned our spot here. Yes, our final games didn't go the way we wanted to, but I think we did earn our spot. So hearing that was some really good validation for us.
Yeah, and we kept refreshing that bracketology, so we saw our names are still there in the morning, so we were kind of hopeful that it would stay.
Yeah.
Then the last thing for me, guys, is, just looking ahead a little bit here to Iowa State tomorrow. I know you mentioned, one of you just a moment ago, that they're not necessarily similar to any team you've played in the Ivy League this year, but are they like anybody? I mean, do they remind you in any way of a team that maybe you played in the non-conference? And if so, is there any takeaway from any of those previous matchups that you can bring to this matchup tomorrow?
Yeah, maybe Middle Tennessee-esque, really good post player surrounded by some shooters. I think maybe just that same intensity we gave that defense carried over to this game.
Yeah, I think maybe also last year somewhat Oklahoma-esque in that they have a lot of great shooters around them, but we're watching film, we're preparing for this team, so.
And then I promise, last item for me. A lot is being made already of a similarity in just the starting lineups. You know, you guys typically start 4 sophomores and a senior. Well, interestingly, they do too. 4 sophomores and a senior. And I'm just wondering, do you see some of yourselves in this team, or is that just coincidental? And is this really going to be a matchup of contrasts rather than similarities?
There's some similarities. I think having that one big leader on the court, their point guard, but our post players, that similarity is very obvious. And then just having 4 hard workers surrounding them that are don't have the same maturity that they might have, but work same amount as them.
Thank you, guys.
Another one for me, sorry. How do you guys simulate an Audie Crooks in practice? How do you manage to find someone to perform that function so that you can practice against that kind of post player?
We have some great post players on our team, and so I think we've had a lot step up in that role and just be aggressive, taking the shots that Audie would take. And so we've been just playing each other, but all year long we've also had some male practice players come in and play us, and so we've played against some bigger and stronger players as well.
Shout out Paige.
And then back to Zoom with Jen Hatfield.
Hey, Sky. Hey, Fadima. Thanks for doing this. I just got a couple for you. Following up kind of on Steve's question about Selection Sunday, but zooming out a little bit, can you kind of walk me through what the past few days have been like for you guys after the Harvard loss? First waiting to hear your name called, and then once your name was called, that quick turnaround to get here?
Yeah, I think we knew we were going to be playing this week, whether in either tournament, so we were ready to keep playing. It was just a matter of where we're going. We did find out really late, of course, and then with the playing games, it's always a quick turnaround. So I think we were all a little bit stayed up maybe a little bit too late that night, but we got back on our feet.
Yeah, we had to pack real quick and then wake up and go. So, but just I think once we find out, then just getting ready, already excited to watch film, excited to make sure our bodies are taken care of, and then getting ready to go.
And kind of on that note, how does it feel to get to lead off the tournament here? You guys are the very first game.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, obviously we'd like the automatic qualifier in the future, but we're excited to play and get this opportunity. And I think we're coming off a game, so we're prepared, still in that game mindset, and we're ready to go and give this last stretch of season a good run.
Carla talked to us yesterday about how you guys are all treating this as a new season, and you mentioned that a little bit earlier too. But just for each of you, how did you guys kind of personally reset yourselves or process that loss and kind of move on in such a quick time frame?
Yeah, I think just in basketball, you can't hold on to a loss for too long. So I think after that, maybe the day after, we already had forgotten about it. So it's just a new game coming up.
Yeah, just a mental reset.
And just one more for me, Fadima, for you, thinking back to your NCAA tournament experience last year, how different does it feel this time around, coming in knowing you're going to play big minutes?
Yeah, it's really exciting. I think this entire year at the start, I was still dealing with some nervous jitters, but now I feel like I've gotten that confidence from my coaches and my teammates, and then now it's in myself. It's just exciting to be able to play on a stage like this.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you to Fadima, and thank you to Sky as well. And we will be joined now shortly by Coach.
Thank you.
And Carla Berube, who is the head coach in year 6 with the Princeton Tigers. Floor is yours for a little opening statement.
Yeah, excited to be here. Thrilled that we get to represent Princeton University in the Ivy League, and playing here at the University of Notre Dame against a challenging opponent in Iowa State tomorrow night. As you heard, we're ready to go. Yes, it's been a quick turnaround, but we're excited that we're playing. We're playing in the NCAA tournament, and that means we've had a tremendous season. I've got a great group of student athletes that I get to coach every day, and a wonderful staff. And we'll be ready to go.
Questions?
Caitlin Urka, ESPN. Amazingly, both you and your opponent tomorrow are one of two of only 15 teams who've made the last 6 NCAA tournaments, which is incredibly impressive. I'm curious, what is the key to that sort of longevity and consistency, especially in this new age of NIL and transfer portal? And I know it hits a little differently in the Ivy League, but still, with everything going on, how do you maintain that level of excellence over that extended period of time?
I think that we get to coach tremendous student athletes that care deeply about their academic experience as well as their basketball experience, and they love playing for Princeton across their chest. I get to develop players for 4 years, and we've got a tremendous senior class, great leaders, and then some young, talented underclassmen as well. And I think that's a huge part of it. It's consistency in our players and our staff. They're very, as I talked about, they're very tight. They've got great chemistry on and off the court, and I think that leads to success. We love playing in the Ivy League and representing our league because we truly believe it's what this is all about, right? The student athlete experience, and our players. They love, like I said, they love Princeton, and it shows, I think, when you watch us play.
Your players said that they haven't asked you questions about your national championship experience, but I'm curious, what have you drawn from that journey that you're able to bring into coaching and help to navigate everything that goes along with an NCAA tournament appearance?
Yeah, I've been very lucky, right, as a player, and then during my time at Tufts too, that I've been to a lot of NCAA tournaments, and I think what I talking to them about and relaying my information, I don't think they're thinking, oh, that's coach talking about being in NCAA tournament or winning NCAA games. It's just it's what I've learned. It's what how I coach. It's how we get prepared, how we treat every practice, how we treat our teammates, how all those things, I think, is how you become a successful team and program, and how you respect each other, and all those things. So I'm not relaying anything specifically, but here's what I know, and this is how we're going to go about each and every day, whether it's a non-conference game in November or it's an NCAA game in March. So you can't get too high, you can't get too low. You treat every game the same way.
Okay, sorry, I just
going.
want to make sure I'm not hogging the
Right, you're
mic too. When you look across to Iowa State, what jumps out at you about them? And then, I mean, obviously, if there are probably a few things we can guess, but on those things that jump out at you, how do you tackle those, and how do you, game plan against that?
Yeah, and like we've talked about it, it's a quick turnaround. So, trying to get ready for the inside presence of Audie Crooks it's not easy. It's challenging for sure. But we go pretty deep in our center position, and just preparing for that. But she's certainly not their only player. She's got some great players around her, and Brown and Ryan, and they spread the court really well with great 3-point shooting to. They get to the rim very well. So and they play tough defense. They're scrappy, and. We've, watching film, right, we talked about that there's nobody like Audie or Iowa State in the Ivy League, but, I mean, we've played a lot outside of our conference, right, other Big 12 opponents, other, Power 4 opponents. So we understand sort of the the sort of the game in those conferences, is how they play. And they pound the ball inside. They're always looking to her. They share the ball very well. Their assist to turnover ratio is quite amazing. So it's going to be quite a challenge. We've got to play our game. You can't focus too much on them. We've got to be able to score the basketball, and how are we going to do that? Just play to our strengths.
I'm curious, for your players' sake, do you think it's better that they have a quick turnaround and can't sit and overthink or focus on something like that, or you're saying like maybe it would be better in this case if we had a week plus to prepare for a team and a player like Audie?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I'm sure more time would be helpful, but I think we'll be okay. I think they are students of the game, right? They take their scouts very seriously, so they not only during our film sessions, they're doing it on their own as well. So I think they'll be prepared. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to execute the game plan perfectly, but I think they're going to understand it and do it the best that they can. I think with a team like Iowa State, I don't think you can have just one game plan either. I think you need to be flexible and be ready to pivot based on how things are going.
It's not very often that you have players on your team that have documentaries that have followed them through high school and into their decision-making process. I'm curious, what have you seen, now that Ashley's seen cuts of that, have you seen her transition or learn from that experience and kind of change as a player and a person at all?
Yeah, we all went to see it in New York City a couple weeks ago, or it was playing at a film festival, so we went as a team in there. And I had seen it. She's seen the whole thing. And yeah, she's certainly grown up a lot. She says that when she watches it, she gets cringe. But it was, they started when she was a freshman in high school, and who she is as a sophomore in college is worlds apart. So she's grown as a person, as a teammate, as a basketball player, and in the best way possible. She's an incredible teammate. We love coaching her. We love having her, a part of our program and at the university. And so, it's quite a journey. It's quite a story. What she's been through, what her family has been through, and we're just very grateful and lucky that she's a part of our team.
We'll go back over to Zoom. I'm not quite sure if these hands have been re-raised, but if they have been, we'll start with Jen Hatfield this time.
Hey, Carla, thanks for doing this. Just got a couple for you. First of all, you've mentioned the quick turnaround, but getting the first game in the entire tournament, what do you think of that? Not necessarily from like a tactics and planning point of view, but just from a like eyeballs and spotlight on you guys point of view.
Awesome. It's great. Yeah. I mean, I hope that everybody's watching our game tomorrow night, right? We're very excited about that. Like I said yesterday, we're happy to be here. We're happy to be here because we deserve to be here, and we're looking forward to a great game tomorrow night, and glad that it's the first one of this March Madness.
And then at the Ivy tournament, you talked about how Sky has stepped up as the leader this season, but I also wanted to ask you about her scoring in particular. 20 points on Friday against Harvard, she's averaging close to 5 more points a game than last season. How have you seen her kind of improve as a scorer, as an offensive threat, as a shooter this season?
Yeah, I mean, she's had to step up in every way, right? Being our only starter from last year, and she's and with Maddie being out too, she's had to do just a little bit more on the offensive and scoring the basketball, shooting threes to taking it to the rim. Her pull-up jumper is really nice. I think she's just putting a little bit more on her shoulders. She's also that voice in the huddles. She's really just grown and matured, and we rely on her a lot. We've put a lot on her shoulders, but she's certainly carried that weight in a really great way.
Just one more for you. You and Iowa State have a couple common opponents this season in the non-conference, or, well, I guess for them, Utah's in conference. But How much did watching like Middle Tennessee, Utah play Iowa State, how much does that help you get a read on Iowa State, or are the most recent games like the Big 12 tournament games like more helpful there?
I think you got to watch. You got to watch them all, or as many as you can. We certainly watched the Utah game because we're very familiar with Utah, having played them in the last couple of years. But yeah, I mean, I think you also need to know what they've been doing lately and what their strengths have been, and so yeah, I think all of that is really important.
Awesome, thank you.
And over to Steve Silverman.
Thanks. Hi, Carla. Carla, I just wonder if there's any kind of difference a little, this year in terms of the vibe for your team coming to the tournament as compared to a year ago, and whether or not that might even be a good thing. And let me just add some context to that question. Coming in last year, you guys had won a share of the Ivy League regular season. You had won the Ivy League tournament. You had been nationally ranked at times during the season. You were coming off 2 straight first-round wins over higher-seeded opponents in the previous 2 tournaments. You were a number 9 seed, could have been a number 8. I think the expectations were really high. You had a lot of seniors that were outstanding players that people knew about. This year, didn't win the Ivy League, didn't win the Ivy League tournament, weren't nationally ranked. You've got a young team of mostly sophomores. Does that give you maybe a feeling, a little bit more of a freewheeling feeling? Maybe you're playing with a little bit of house money. I just kind of note that, you're full of smiles today. I thought you were yesterday. Your players are too. I mean, is there just a good vibe right now that maybe is a little different than last year?
I think I'm always smiling, Steve.
You are, but I've noticed just a tiny
Just kidding,
difference.
I'm not. Ask my players. I don't know. Yeah, I think the vibes are really good. I think yes, we did not win the Ivy League or the tournament, but I think it's been a successful season nonetheless. I don't know if you always, rate your season based on those things. I think we've had a really fun journey. We've grown up a lot. There's been some really challenging times, and we've moved through those and found, some really bright spots and some great play. So it's been a lot of fun, but I had a lot of fun last year and the year before too. I think every year is different. I'm not sure. Last year I was feeling more pressure to win, or we're supposed to win. I think as a mid-major and maybe as in the Ivy League, I think we always have a chip on our shoulders and nobody thinks we're actually going to win. So I think, I just think we're having a good time. The vibes are great, and our players are really excited to compete tomorrow night, and looking forward to it. I know my staff has been working really, really hard the last couple days here to get them as prepared as possible. So I'm not sure it's too different, but I think every year is its own journey.
Fair enough. And let me ask sort of a follow-up, little bit of a different question, but somewhat related, and that's just to sort of compare the personality of this team from, the players themselves, not so much yourself or your staff, but just the players you've got. Again, of course, it's a young team, 4 sophomore starters, and even the senior starter wasn't a starter all the time last year. And so, is there just a different personality to this team than there was a year ago?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Caitlin and Ellie and Chet, that was a very dominant class of personalities. So I think just new personalities, new people emerge. I think we've got a lot of personality in our senior class. And you all see what happens on the court, but, so much of who we are, what we do is in practice, off the court, on the bus, in the, meeting space. We've got a lot of different personalities that maybe don't, get as much time on the court that are just so important to, who we are, our energy, and what makes it fun. That every year is, like I said, is different and new. New people emerge, new leaders emerge, new, voices and energy, and Adora Wokage being one of them as a senior, and she's a lot of who our personality is, but you don't get to see her a lot on the court, but she's, so important to who we are. So every year is different.
Last one for me. If there, you've been talking about how you want to focus a lot on how you play and how, what you want to do, and that makes a ton of sense to me. And so if there were like one item tomorrow, maybe it's turnovers, maybe it's rebounding, maybe it's something else. What's an item that's a red letter item for you going into tomorrow's game? You want to do what really well tomorrow?
What do we want to do well? Gosh, let me count the ways. And I mean, it would be great if they don't get a lot of points in the paint. But also, as Steve, as you know me, like I'm always thinking defense, right? Like what can we do defensively to be successful? To not allowing them to shoot well from beyond the three. I think also defensive rebounding is key. We cannot allow them to get those second chance opportunities. Crooks she gets a lot of her points off those second chance opportunities too. So, just those are a couple of things. We need to shoot the ball well. That's really important when you get to this stage because everybody scores. Everybody's got great offense. So you've got to be able to make open shots. So, finding ways to get those good looks. And in a few minutes, we'll be at practice and working on those ways.
Thanks, Coach. See you tomorrow.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And on that note, that is all the time we have for today. So thank you so much, Coach, for
All
taking
right,
the
thank
time.
you.
We appreciate it.
Yep.
Princeton Tigers head coach Carla Berube. And just one final reminder, Hammond Communications posts a recording of this press conference online to the NCAA Media Hub at ncaa.veritone.com. That's VERITONE. And transcripts are provided by ASAP and will be posted shortly. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.